New Harmony is a historic town on the Wabash River in Harmony Township, Posey County, Indiana, United States. It lies 15 miles north of Mount Vernon, the county seat. The population was 789 at the 2010 census. It is part of the Evansville metropolitan area. Established by the Harmony Society in 1814, the town was originally known as Harmony, bought at $2 an acre. The 20,000-acre settlement was the brainchild of George Rapp and was home exclusively to German Lutherans in its early years. Here, the Harmonists built a new town in the wilderness, but in 1824 they decided to sell the property and return to Pennsylvania. Robert Owen, a Welsh industrialist and social reformer, purchased the town in 1825 with the intention of creating a new utopian community and renamed it New Harmony. While the Owenite social experiment was an economic failure just 2 years after it began, the community made some important contributions to American society. New Harmony became known as a center for advances in education and scientific research. New Harmony's residents established the first free library, a civic drama club, and a public school system open to men and women. Its prominent citizens included Owen's sons, Indiana Congressman and social reformer Robert Dale Owen, who sponsored legislation to create the Smithsonian Institution, David Dale Owen, a noted state and federal geologist, William Owen, and Richard Owen, state geologist, Indiana University professor, and first president of Purdue University. The town served as the second headquarters of the U.S. Geological Survey, and numerous scientists and educators contributed to New Harmony's intellectual community, including William McClure, Marie-Louise Duclos, Fred Arjot, Thomas Say, Charles Alexandre Lesueur, Joseph Neff, Francis Wright, and others. Many of the town's old Harmonist buildings still stand and have been restored. These structures, along with others related to the Owenite community, are included in the New Harmony Historic District. Contemporary additions to the town include the roofless church and Athenaeum. The New Harmony State Memorial is located there. Just to the south of town on State Road 69 is Harmony State Park. History. Harmonist settlement. The town of Harmony, founded by the Harmony Society in 1814 under the leadership of German immigrant George Rapp, was the second of 3 towns built by the Pietist, communal German religious group known as Harmonists, Harmonites or Rappites. The Harmonists settled in the Indiana Territory after leaving Harmony, Pennsylvania, where westward expansion, the area's rising population, jealous neighbors, and increasing cost for land threatened the society's desire for isolation. In April 1814, Anna May Risch, John L. Baker, and Ludwig Schover traveled west in search of a new location for the congregation, one that would have fertile soil and access to a navigable waterway. By May 10, the men had found suitable land along the Wabash River in the Indiana Territory and made an initial purchase of approximately 7,000 acres. Rapp wrote on May 10, "The place is 25 miles from the Ohio mouth of the Wabash, and 12 miles from where the Ohio makes its curve first before the mouth. The town will be located about 1/4 mile from the river above on the channel on a plain as level as the floor of a room, perhaps a good 1/4 mile from the hill which lies suitable for a vineyard." Quote, although Rapp expressed concern that the town's location lacked a waterworks, the area provided an opportunity for expansion and access to markets through the nearby rivers, causing him to remark, "In short, The place has all the advantages which one could wish, if a steam engine meanwhile supplies what is lacking. The first Harmonists left Pennsylvania in June 1814 and traveled by flatboat to the new land in the Indiana Territory. In May 1815, the last of the Harmonists who had remained behind until the sale of the town in Pennsylvania was completed departed for the new town along the Wabash River. By 1816, the same year that Indiana became a state, the Harmonists had acquired 20,000 acres of land, built 160 homes and other buildings, and cleared 2,000 acres for the new town. The settlement also began to attract new arrivals, including emigrants from Germany such as members of Rapp's congregation from Württemberg, many of whom expected the Harmonists to pay for the passage to America. However, the new arrivals were more of a liability than an asset. On March 20, 1819, Rapp commented, "It is astonishing how much trouble the people who have arrived here have made, for they have no morals and do not know what it means to live a moral and well-mannered life, not to speak of true Christianity, of denying the world or yourself." Visitors to Harmony commented on the commercial and industrial work being done in this religious settlement along the Wabash River. "It seemed as though I found myself in the midst of Germany," noted one visitor. In 1819, the town had a steam-operated wool carding and spinning factory, a horse-drawn and human-powered thrashing machine, a brewery, distillery, vineyards, and a winery. The property included an orderly town, laid out in a square, with a church, school, store, dwellings for residents, and streets to create the most beautiful city of Western America, because everything is built in the most perfect symmetry. Other visitors were not as impressed. Hard labor and coarse fare appears to be the lot of all except the family of Rapp. He lives in a large and handsome brick house while the rest inhabit small log cabins. House and numerous a population are kept quietly and tamely in absolute servitude. It is hard to conceive. The women, I believe, do more labor in the field than the men, as large numbers of the latter are engaged in different branches of manufactures. The 1820 manufacturers' census reported that 75 men, 12 women, and 30 children were employed, although they were not paid for the work. In the society's tanneries, saw and grain mills, and woolen and cotton mills. Manufactured goods included cotton, flannel, and wool cloth, yarn goods, tinware, rope, beer, peach brandy, whiskey, wine, wagons, carts, plows, flour, beef, pork, butter, leather, and leather goods. Although the Harmonist community continued to thrive during the 1820s, correspondence from March 6, 1824, between Rapp and his adopted son, Frederick, indicates that the Harmonists planned to sell their Indiana property and were already looking for a new location. In May, a decade after their arrival in Indiana, the Harmonists purchased land along the Ohio River 18 miles from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and were making arrangements to advertise the sale of the property in Indiana. The move, although it was made primarily for religious reasons, would provide the Harmonists with easier access to Eastern markets and a place where they could live more peacefully with others who shared their German language and culture. On May 24, 1824, a group of Harmonists boarded a steamboat and departed Indiana, bound for Pennsylvania, where they founded the community of Economy, now called Ambridge. In May 1825, the last Harmonists left Indiana after the sale of the 20,000 acres of property, which included the land and buildings, to Robert Owen for $150,000. Owen hoped to establish a new community on the Indiana frontier, one that would serve as a model community for communal living and social reform. Owenite community. Robert Owen was a social reformer and wealthy industrialist who made his fortune from textile mills in New Lanark, Scotland. Owen, his 22-year-old son, William, and his Scottish friend Donald MacDonald sailed to the United States in 1824 to purchase a site to implement Owen's vision for a new moral world of happiness, enlightenment, and prosperity through education, science, technology, and communal living. Owen's utopian community would create a superior social, intellectual, and physical environment based on his ideals of social reform. Owen was motivated to buy the town in order to prove his theories were viable and to correct the troubles that were affecting his mill town community. New Lanark, the ready-built town of Harmony, Indiana, fit Owen's needs. In January 1825 he signed the agreement to purchase the town, renamed it New Harmony, and invited any and all to join him there. While many of the town's new arrivals had a sincere interest in making it a success, the experiment also attracted crackpots, freeloaders, and adventurers whose presence in the town made success unlikely. William Owen, who remained in New Harmony while his father returned east to recruit new residents, also expressed concern in his diary entry, dated March 24, 1825. I doubt whether those who have been comfortable and content in their old mode of life will find an increase of enjoyment when they come here. How long it will require to accustom themselves to the new mode of living I am unable to determine. When Robert Owen returned to New Harmony in April 1825, he found 700 to 800 residents in a chaotic situation, much in need of leadership. By May 1825 the community had adopted the Constitution of the Preliminary Society, which loosely outlined its expectations and government. Under the Preliminary Constitution, members would provide their own household goods and invest their capital at interest in an enterprise that would promote independence and social equality. Members would render services to the community in exchange for credit at the town's store, but those who did not want to work could purchase credit at the store with cash payments made in advance. In addition, the town would be governed by a committee of 4 members chosen by Owen, and the community would elect 3 additional members. In June, Robert Owen left William in New Harmony while he traveled east to continue promoting his model community and returned to Scotland, where he sold his interests in the New Lanark textile mills and arranged financial support for his wife and 2 daughters, who chose to remain in Scotland. Owen's 4 sons, Robert Dale, William, David Dale, and Richard, and a daughter, Jane Dale, later settled in New Harmony. While Owen was away recruiting new residents for New Harmony, a number of factors that led to an early breakup of the socialist community had already begun. Members grumbled about inequity in credits between workers and non-workers. In addition, the town soon became overcrowded, lacked sufficient housing, and was unable to produce enough to become self-sufficient. Although they still had high hopes for the future, unlike the earlier harmonious settlement, the Owenite community was not based on shared religious faith and a strong spiritual leader. Owen spent only a few months in residence at New Harmony, where a shortage of skilled craftsmen and laborers along with inadequate and inexperienced supervision and management contributed to its eventual failure. Despite the community's shortcomings, Owen was a passionate promoter of his vision for New Harmony. While visiting Philadelphia, Owen met Madame Marie-Louise Duclos Fretajo, a Pestarosian educator, and persuaded her to join him in Indiana. Fretajo encouraged scientist and fellow educator William McClure to become a part of the venture. On January 26, 1826, Fretajo, McClure, and a number of their colleagues, including including Thomas Say, Joseph Neff, Charles Alexandre Lesueur, and others aboard the keelboat philanthropist, arrived in New Harmony to help Owen establish his new experiment in socialism. On February 5, 1826, the town adopted a new constitution, the New Harmony Community of Equality, whose objective was to achieve happiness based on principles of equal rights and equality of duties, cooperation, common property, economic benefit, freedom of speech and action, kindness and courtesy, order, preservation of health, acquisition of knowledge, and obedience to the country's laws were included as part of the Constitution. The Constitution laid out the life of a citizen in New Harmony as follows: from 1 to 5, children were to be cared for and encouraged to exercise, and from 6 to 9 they were to be lightly employed and given education via observation, directed by skilled teachers. From 10 to 12 they were to help in the houses and with the gardening. From 12 to 15 they were to receive technical training, and from 15 to 20 their education was to be continued. From 20 to 30 they were to act as a superintendent in the production and education departments. From 30 to 40 they were to govern the homes, and from 40 to 60 they were to be encouraged to assist with the community's external relations or to travel abroad if they so desired. Although the Constitution contained worthy ideals, it did not clearly address how the community would function and was never fully established. Individualist anarchist Josiah Warren, who was one of the original participants in the New Harmony Society, asserted that the community was doomed to failure due to a lack of individual sovereignty and private property. He wrote of the community, "It seemed that the difference of opinion, tastes and purposes increased just in proportion to the demand for conformity. 2 years were worn out in this way, at the end of which I believe that not more than 3 persons had the least hope of success. Most of the experimenters left in despair of all reforms, and conservatism felt itself confirmed. We had tried every conceivable form of organization and government. We had a world in miniature. We had enacted the French Revolution over again with despairing hearts instead of corpses as a result. It appeared that it was nature's own inherent law of diversity that had conquered us. Our united interests were directly at war with the individualities of persons and circumstances and the instinct of self-preservation, and it was evident that just in proportion to the contact of persons or interests, so are concessions and compromises indispensable." Part of New Harmony's failings rested upon 3 activities that Owen brought in from Scotland and which failed in America. First, Owen actively attacked established religion regardless of the constitutional guarantees of religious freedom and the separations of church and state of the colony's host country. Such activities had the effect of driving away even the most liberal potential business partners. Second was Owen's stubborn attachment to the principles of the rationalist Age of Enlightenment, which drove away many of the Jeffersonian farmers Owen tried to attract. And thirdly, Owen consistently appealed to the upper class in order to gain donations, but found that the strategy was not as effective as it had been in Europe. Robert Dale Owen would say of the failed socialism experiment that the people at New Harmony were a heterogeneous collection of radicals, enthusiastic devotees to principle, honest latitudinarians, and lazy theorists with a sprinkling of unprincipled sharpers thrown in, and that all cooperative schemes which provide equal remuneration to the skilled and industrious and the ignorant and idle must work their own downfall. For by this unjust plan, they must of necessity eliminate the valuable members and retain only the improvident, unskilled, and vicious. In 1826, splinter groups dissatisfied with the efforts of the larger community broke away from the main group and prompted a reorganization. In New Harmony, work was divided into 6 departments, each with its own superintendent. These departments included agriculture, manufacturing, domestic economy, general economy, commerce and literature, science and education. A governing council included the 6 superintendents and an elected secretary. Despite the new organization and constitution, members continued to leave town. By March 1827, after several other attempts to reorganize, the utopian experiment had failed. The larger community lasted only until 1827, at which time smaller communities were formed, which led to further subdivision, until individualism replaced socialism in 1828. New Harmony was dissolved in 1829 due to constant quarrels as parcels of land and property were returned to private use. To dissolve the community, Owen spent $200,000 of his own funds to purchase New Harmony property and pay off the community's debts. His sons, Robert Dale and William, gave up the shares of the new Lannick Mills in exchange for shares in New Harmony. Later, Owen conveyed the entire New Harmony property to his sons in return for an annuity of $1,500 for the remainder of his life. Owen left New Harmony in June 1827 and focused his interests elsewhere. He died in 1858.